On a dark winter evening, when the sun had decided to set early, 10-year-old Mela was on her way home, carrying her usual school bag over her shoulder. Her small town, usually peaceful and friendly, seemed utterly deserted due to the snowfall. Mela pulled her red jacket tightly around herself and tried to warm her tiny fingers. The path home was familiar. Walk straight down the road, turn left at the red postbox, and then reach the green door of her house. But today, as she stepped out of school, the sky unleashed a flurry of white flakes, falling fast. At first, they looked beautiful, like a magical world. Soon, however, the wind changed direction, and a white storm surrounded her. "Mom said to come home early," Mela whispered to herself, but her voice was swallowed by the howling wind. She squinted against the icy gusts, trying to move forward, but the snow had buried everything: postbox, trees, even the signs of the familiar path. Her steps faltered. She wiped her frozen cheeks with trembling hands. Suddenly, her foot caught on something, maybe a root or a stone, and she tumbled down into the thick snow, its cold embrace wrapping around her. "Help! Is anyone there?" she called out weakly, but in response, there was only the whistle of the wind. Breathing was becoming difficult. The cold had seeped into her bones. Her eyelids grew heavier. In that moment, she felt a soft movement beside her. A brown stray dog, its thick fur covered in snow, lay down beside her. Its eyes held a deep pain, loneliness, and an unspoken wisdom. It looked at Mela as if saying, "Don't be afraid." Mela placed her hand on the dog's warm body. The dog huddled closer, sharing its warmth. In the frozen wilderness, two lost souls clung to each other, their last hope for survival. The dog's steady breathing kept Mela conscious. She buried her tiny nose in its fur and closed her eyes. In the middle of this icy nightmare, a stray dog had given a little girl the warmth of life. Far away, the city lights glowed faintly. But in the deserted park, only two fragile souls remained, holding onto each other. Mela took one last look at the dog and thought, "We are the same, lost and alone." And then, she surrendered to the darkness, while the dog, steadfast, fulfilled its silent duty. On this white afternoon of winter, Noah and Elias, college friends and roommates, had grown weary of the suffocating walls of their flat.
Seeking fresh air, they ventured into the park.
Noah had pulled up the collar of his brown jacket against the cold, while Elias wore his headphones, keeping his ears warm. "Man, we're crazy for stepping out in this weather," Noah shouted over the wind, his voice nearly swallowed by its roar. Elias removed his headphones, smiling. "You know how much I love the snow. Besides, a little walk." His words froze mid-sentence. Both stopped suddenly. Amidst the howling wind, an unfamiliar sound echoed. "Did you hear that?" Elias asked, his breath visible in the cold air. Noah nodded. It sounded like an animal. Elias, a dedicated volunteer at the local animal shelter, immediately grew alert. The two stepped cautiously towards the source of the sound, their boots crunching against the deep snow. In the most deserted corner of the park, where ancient oak trees stood draped in white, they stumbled upon a sight that made their hearts clench. A little girl, her hair turned almost white with snow, lay motionless on the ground. Beside her, a brown dog, its body trembling, clung tightly to her. The dog let out a weak, desperate sound upon seeing them, as if making one final plea for help. Pain filled its eyes, yet there was a certain resilience too, a silent determination. "Oh my God!" Noah gasped, fumbling for his phone.
Elias, without hesitation, stepped forward.
He removed his jacket and gently wrapped the dog inside it. The animal resisted for a brief moment, then seemed to understand. They were here to help.
"The girl, she's breathing,"
Elias shouted, his fingers pressed against Mela's wrist, searching for a pulse. Noah spoke rapidly into his phone. "Yes, the north side of Central Park, a child and a dog. Get here fast." The ambulance took 10 minutes to arrive, but for Noah and Elias, those minutes stretched into eternity. Elias held the dog close, which kept glancing toward Mela as if watching over her. When the paramedics arrived, they swiftly placed Mela on a stretcher.
"Severe hypothermia," one paramedic murmured.
"She's alive, but just barely." Noah and Elias exchanged glances, their eyes shimmering with emotion. "And the dog?" a paramedic asked. Elias instantly responded, "I'll take care of it." I know a nearby veterinary clinic." The ambulance sped off with Mela, while Elias gently placed the dog into his car. As he drove, the dog turned its gaze toward him. There was fear in those eyes, but beyond that, there was an undeniable strength. Elias balanced the steering wheel with one hand and softly stroked the dog's head with the other. "It's okay, buddy," he whispered. "We'll fix you up. And then, we'll reunite you with your little friend." The dog let out a faint sigh, almost as if it understood. The car slid carefully through the snowy roads, heading toward the veterinary clinic, carrying within it a loyal creature and a young man, two souls bound together by fate. In the sterile white hospital room, Mela's eyelids fluttered faintly. The light pricked at her eyes, and she slowly began to open them. The first thing she noticed was the 4-tube attached to her hand, and the second was the warm touch of her mother's hand resting gently on her forehead.
Where is the dog?
Mela whispered with dry lips, the first question she asked. Amelia, her mother, whose eyes were swollen and red, pulled her daughter into a tight embrace. "Thank God, you're safe." Her voice trembled with emotion. Dr. Ahmed, the physician overseeing Mela's case, smiled and said, "The dog who saved you is safe. If she hadn't kept you warm, then—" He left the sentence unfinished, but everyone knew what he meant. Amelia stroked her daughter's hair, whispering softly, "We will bring her home. She will be a part of our family." 3 days later, after Mela was discharged from the hospital, she went straight to the animal shelter. As she approached room 5, where Lumi was kept, her breath quickened.
Will she remember me?
Mela nervously asked the shelter worker. The worker smiled and opened the door. Lumi, who had been lying in a corner, suddenly lifted her head at the sight of Mela.
For a moment, there was silence.
Then, the dog wagged her tail vigorously and ran straight to Mela.
"Lumi!"
Mela shouted, dropping to her knees and wrapping her arms around the dog. Lumi, overwhelmed with joy, began licking Mela's face, hands, and clothes, as if greeting a long-lost loved one. Tears streamed down Mela's cheeks, but they were not the tears of fear anymore. Amelia stood aside, watching the scene, realizing that this dog wasn't just an animal. She was a miracle that had entered their lives. On the way home, Lumi curiously sniffed her new surroundings. She wandered around the house, stopping particularly near Mela's bed, where Amelia had prepared a cozy, soft space for her. That night, when the house was silent, Mela suddenly woke up, crying out, "No! The snow!"
I'm trapped.
Her body was drenched in sweat. Lumi, who had been sleeping lightly, immediately woke up and climbed onto the bed. She placed her head on Mela's chest and let out a soft, reassuring sound. Mela clung to the dog, feeling the warmth of Lumi's breath and heartbeat. It was the only proof she needed that she was safe now.
You're here with me, aren't you?
Mela whispered hesitantly. Lumi licked her hand in response. In the following weeks, Lumi became Mela's constant companion. She ate with her, slept beside her, and stayed close no matter where Mela went. Their bond was undeniable, a connection formed in the snow, strengthened through love, and sealed forever. Over time, Mela and Lumi's bond grew so deep that they felt incomplete without each other. The fear and silence that had once surrounded Mela faded with Lumi's presence. One morning, in the school assembly hall, Mela stood in front of her class to give a speech. "My name is Mela, and this is my best friend Lumi," she said, pointing to the dog sitting by her feet. All the children in the hall turned their eyes toward Lumi. Mela shared her story, how she had gotten lost in the snow one winter evening, how an injured stray dog had kept her warm, and how Noah and Elias had saved them both. "Lumi didn't just give me warmth. She taught me what loyalty truly means." Her speech touched not only the school but the entire town. A local newspaper published her story with the headline, "A dog's loyalty changes a child's life." Soon, people started calling animal shelters, asking about adopting stray animals. Noah and Elias, who had become regular guests at Mela's home, visited every week. Lumi would wag her tail excitedly each time she saw them, as if she considered them part of her family too. One day, Elias said, "You know, Lumi didn't just save you, she brought all of us together." 1 year later, the snow had melted, and fresh green grass covered the park's ground. Mela and Lumi played in the same place where their lives had changed exactly 1 year ago. Lumi was now strong and healthy, running beside Mela, her tail waving in the air. From a distance, Amelia watched them. Her daughter, who had once been lost and afraid in the snow, was now laughing and chasing Lumi without a trace of fear. A thought crossed her mind. Asked sometimes, life's darkest moments bring the most beautiful relationships. At the end of their play, Mela hugged Lumi tightly and scratched behind her ears, just as she did every day.
You saved me, Lumi. Now we will always be with you.
Lumi looked at Mela with deep eyes, wagged her tail, and licked her face. In that simple gesture, she spoke without words. I'm with you too, always. In the distance, birds chirped, and the scent of spring filled the air. A new beginning had arrived.